Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I am Kelly Stewart, at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter, joined by Eddie Boron, at Eddie Boron on Twitter, Tony Finn, at WagerTalk on Twitter. People are going to have like 4 @ signs in your name and not ever be able to find you.
I'm going to add another one now.
You're going to add another one at the end?
Yeah.
Good idea. All right, guys, March Madness, Sweet 16. This game's not really on my radar, so I'm excited to see what you guys have to think about it. Kentucky Wildcats, 2.5-point favorites versus the Houston Cougars. Total 134.5. The interesting thing here is Houston has not only covered 2 straight, but they've actually put on a nice little clinic in both of their games. I like betting against teams named Kentucky, teams named Gonzaga, teams named Duke, whatever, because I believe you're paying a premium. This game kind of looks like when K-State was catching 5.5 versus Kentucky in the same spot last year. And the whole world was on Kentucky. I remember I was at the Cosmos Sportsbook, and I was the only one cheering every time K-State scored, not only because I went to K-State, but because I had a K-State ticket in my pocket. Eddie, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on the total, 134.5?
Well, right now, I don't see any advantage either way.
Okay.
Right now, but I could, like I said,
do you have a buy-on number, maybe, for example?
I would want to play it under.
Okay.
And I would need it to go up, probably 136, and it would make it a play. But I'm a market player, and I'll be asked, what do you think of the Kentucky game? What do you like? And basically, I won't like either side if there's not an advantage, if there's not an edge, because my site was called CLV.
Okay.
And I started it. You can't win long term at this without getting the best of the number. It's mathematical fact.
I actually tweeted that the other day. Speaking of Kentucky, I was on the other side with Wofford, and everybody losing their minds, laying 5.5, and I go, you guys are not going to win long term, period. The end. I was so pissed at Wofford the way they choked in that game. But also because the game, in my opinion, should have been 4, maybe even 3.5. So if you're laying 5.5, I said you're not going to win long term. So that's awesome stuff. So you are that quintessential guy that says, I'm not betting teams, I'm betting strictly numbers.
Strictly numbers,
So
yes.
Possibly at 136.5, there may be an underplay.
Correct.
I may ask you about maybe some adjusted tempos and stuff here in a second, but I'm going to get with Tony on his opinion on this game.
Some injuries to Kentucky are concerning. I was on Kentucky.
So I got a little phone call. I can't say his name. The other day, he said, I need to know your March Madness plays. He works with me at CBS. And I was pretty on cloud 9 because I was like, this is awesome. And I said, you want my March Madness plays? I need to know about P.J. Washington. And he said, he's out for Wofford. He's out for this game. He's out for Wofford. I said, okay, fine, here you go. But I'm going to find out about that because P.J. Washington being in a permanent cast is
Till tomorrow, or till today.
says something more to me than just a walking boot.
Yes.
Okay, so keep an eye on that. We got P.J. Washington circled.
You mentioned the Wofford game. Let's be honest. Wofford shot less than 30. I mean, this is the 3rd-ranked 3-point shooting team in the country. And obviously, there's some adjusted numbers because of their schedule. They were the better team. And their best player, McGee, is 0 for 12 from the 3-point line. And they were in a position to win this game. Kentucky is a big step up. Houston is underrated. If you don't think this AAC can play, let's see what USCF just did. What they not only did at Duke, what they did in the Cruise in the first game. While it's top heavy, Cincinnati had kind of an iffy season. They lost a lot of talent. This Houston team can play at tempo. They can play deliberate. They have bigs in the middle that can run the court. If Kentucky doesn't score in transition, their offense is as pedestrian and lethargic as any team I've ever seen under Calipari.
And that kind of goes with Eddie's under there.
Yes.
But you did mention that Houston does like to play up tempo. I don't have my Ken Palm in front of me to look at their adjusted tempo.
They can play either way.
But so you think if they want to win this game, they've got to play their own game and force Kentucky to play their game, force Kentucky to make those terrible shots that we know they can't make.
If they stack the paint here and if Kentucky doesn't hit their 3-pointers, and they're not a great 3-point shooting team, and they don't defend the 3-point line that well, I like Houston. Last week it was my big play in the round of 32, and I thought they just were deliberate and did everything they wanted to do. Sampson was a good coach in Oklahoma. He's done even a better job with this team. They listen to him, they follow instructions, they don't make a lot of mistakes, they don't take a lot of chances, they just are a good technical team.
All right, Eddie, I'll give you the final word on this one.
Well, the tempo for both teams is in the 60s, and
that's where I'm kind of concerned regarding the under.
Well, that would point to the under.
Yeah.
Even if it was like I was thinking if they were more in like the high hundreds. I'm looking at these adjusted tempo teams that are just super slow type teams. So that was what I mean. Houston is, as Tony mentioned, can run if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Kentucky's defense being able to stop that.
And Houston is the same way. I mean, they're especially late in the game. If they have a lead, I mean, you'll see they walk the ball up the court. They'll work the clock down to the 10-second mark, and it's the adjusted tempo is. Well, at least I look at it when the lower. I mean, you'll see some of them up towards 70, and the adjusted tempo 66 in that range is a pretty good pace. The lower pace, and that's.
I guess I'm just used to watching K-State
They'll play
basketball.
Houston will play dead. Markle will even he's not in the shoot, but a couple weeks ago they played SMU, and I loved Houston. SMU's not very good. However, and they dominated most of the game, but late in the game they just quit playing. They had the lead, and they'll play to win. They're not concerned with covering, and SMU came back and backdoored them. But they can play they play to win. And you saw the last 2 weeks we were forced to cover both times. Again, I like Houston here.
Okay, great stuff from both guys. $9 Monday at WagerTalk. Get all daily packages for Monday's action, plus early college basketball, NHL, NBA, priced at only $9. That includes any 5% best bets, normally priced at $30.